Year 4. Let's get going. Another turn down, Twilight said, tapping the stack of papers on the end to straighten them. You've all been playing for about 2 hours now. Any point getting tired? Need a break?
No, we should get going,
Raindrop said, tapping her hoof distractedly on the tabletop. Twilight frowned. You sure? I know you're not supposed to stop, but this is your first time. We could...
It's fine. Read the results,
Trixie interrupted, her eyes fixed on the board before her. Lyra nodded intently. We're good to go. Tell us what happened this time. Twilight frowned, looked around the table, but no pony was meeting her eye. Tension in the air was thick enough to feel and hung over the table like an oppressive living thing. The librarian bit her lip and considered her options, but ultimately she knew there was nothing for it but to press forward and hope for the best. Very well, I'll start in the north. The stalemate in Haphazard continues with yet another 2-on-2 clash, although Trixie moves her army away from Prozac to Codnus this turn, so that might change. The Griffins also moved their army into Tundra and their air force into Hippopotamia, probably to try to block Keratop's peace. Unfortunately, Keratop once again went around her and slipped into the now unprotected Kanja. The Elks also moved out of the western Badlands into Horch, while the Campbell's army took their place in the Badlands. Ditsie's air force supported her attack into Phaedric, but Cherylee wisely chose to move into the area instead, repulsing Lyra's attack there. Still, that means the ponies are now in control of Phaedric. Cherylee shot Ditsie a glum look, but she wasn't really surprised. A spike had been driven between her pieces, and she was paying dearly for it. Cherylee also tried to take back Nakwa, I continued, but the buffaloes stayed in place and blocked that move as well. There was another classic kill-out between the buffalo and tapirs. This time 3-on-3. Raindrops moved her army into the South Dune Sea, and her navy into the Zabrigan Sea. Oddly, it was Keratop who grumbled in disappointment at the news, frowning into pieces as the unicorn moved them into new positions. Everybody else at the table jerked their attention and started scanning the board, if anything, more attention than before. Twilight missed this exchange, flipping to the next page in her stack and frowning. Lyra's air force moved here up into Saudi Arabia for some reason. Her remaining armies moved to Calabera and Sentimental, taking it with the ponies. Meanwhile, Ditsie's last moves are into Palermo and Lartigo, and that rested up.
Alright, good,
Trixie said dismissively, but the effort at the table with a determined gleam in her eye.
Shirley, we need to talk. Come on. CT, a quick word?
Ditsie asked, nodding towards the area by the stairs. The two of them trotted off, already whispering fiercely. Raindrops was engrossed in writing something in her notebook, paying little attention to what the others were doing at the moment. Lyra slipped up next to Twilight as he was blinking at how fast the others vacated the table. Can you clarify something for me? I was looking at the book and it said that Navy units can ferry to other places to move them several spaces at a turn. Can Air Forces do the same thing? Well, not really, Twilight said, pausing just long enough to flip over the timer. That's a trait unique to the Navy piece, to balance how they go inland. But the Air Forces are able to...
I call this cancelled and take back the board to order,
Trixie said dramatically, speaking as loudly as he dared, less prying ears to pick up what they shouldn't.
Hardly seems like he needs that much flair, Raindrop said mildly, arching an eyebrow. There's only the 3 of us.
Trixie smiled and tapped the side of her ear thoughtfully.
Shirley's in on it too. She's surrounding Keratop for us, so she doesn't get suspicious. But don't worry, she's keeping informed. Isn't that the same earring? Ditsie asked, leaning closer for a better look. From the gala? It is, isn't it? It's so clever!
Raindrops frowned and played back what she just heard.
Wait a minute. Why is she distracting Keratop? So she doesn't hear us playing to bring her down, of course, Trixie said, picking up her man and fanning out. No, I was thinking... Keratop isn't the problem,
Raindrops interrupted.
I thought we were joining forces to Lyra.
Trixie scrunched up her nose.
No, see, you have to admit that she's been all but unstoppable. Her knowledge of this game's inner workings is uncanny. She might not be ahead right now, but if we leave her alone, I just know she'll find some chink in our armor and strike! Ditsy, you'll back me up on this.
But Ditsy was already shaking her head.
I'm sorry, but I agree with Raindrops on this one. Lyra's got twice the land Carrot does, and she's actually attacking the two of us.
Besides, what am I supposed to do about her? Raindrops asked. The entire continent is separating our forces. If you really want to work together, then I say we focus on Lyra first.
Seconded!
Ditsy put in. The blue pony pouted, but she knew when she was outvoted.
Fine. First Lyra, then Carrot Top. But what am I supposed to do about her?
What did you expect us to do about...
Raindrops put a hoof into the center of her head and paused for a few moments. To reel her emotions in.
We're just going around in circles. Do either of you have a plan, or are we just wasting our time?
Ditsy puts her mouth forward so the others could see.
The way I see it, we just have to close in on her from all sides. There are some natural bottlenecks in the map here, here, and here. Our units are mostly small armies, so we could just push back our pieces they'll bite themselves.
Raindrops nodded thoughtfully.
That could actually work, although it looks like I'll be doing most of the heavy lifting. I could take any of these countries on the coast here, cut down their numbers a little.
Ditsy was already shaking her head.
It won't work. If she loses territory, she'll lose pieces. And she'll probably just drop those mostly useless ones in the middle here, which aren't doing much. We need to get those units in the way more mobile ones. So at this stage, taking her land is actually a bad thing. First, we club her units together, then we cut them in half by attacking all at the same time. So Ditsy and I need to spend a couple of turns sweeping her off the Kazella Peninsula,
Trixie said, making a sizing mostly across the small map.
Just hold her in place and keep her contained until we get there.
What about if Lyra goes north?
Raindrops asked, pointing out how spread apart the camels were.
It defeats the whole purpose she takes advantage of all this chaos. She'll just play outnumber us at this point.
Clearly will hold,
Trixie stated. Without one confessing he should have. She eyed the board worriedly, trying to think of all the moves at their disposal.
I can help her out, swing around the sea and strike from above, Ditsy offered. But it'll be fine to her troops. She can't get me out of Phaedric with her remaining forces, so she's already losing pieces this round. Might be easier if I took these spots and held them myself. I'll take them.
Trixie bit her lip and thought hard, but it didn't take her very long to decide.
Alright, support her if you can, but it looks like Lyra might get control. Do what you have to.
When Trixie had first approached her with the two earrings, she at least had seized upon how useful they could be. Indeed, they already proven their worth several times. It wasn't really cheating, after all. And come to think of it, wasn't spying a normal part of politics already? But when Trixie had run up to her and said she needed to hold Carrot's attention for a while, a tiny seed of worry had sprung up in her mind. If asked, she wouldn't have been able to pinpoint any one thing which had started it. Mostly was that even though she would be able to hear what went on in their meeting, it wasn't the same as having a spy say in their meeting. So when she decided on when to let Carrot Top wear the earring instead, so a fear of doubts that she might have... Hey, if nothing else, she might end up with a new ally, right when she needed one the most. And as it turned out, her hunts had proven to be well-founded after all. Ditsy just said she was going to take all your territories, Carrot Top said in a hushed voice, struggling against the urge to press a hoof to her ear and give away the game. Trixie's agreeing with her! It too, Trixie? The schoolteacher thought, smiling hard enough to crack her molars. If they really think I'm just going to roll over and let them walk all over me, they got another thing coming. And now they're back to my Air Force at Concha, Carrot Top continued, leaning forward to express how serious he was taking the news. I think they're right. That piece is caught cold with no way out. There isn't anything we can do about this. I'll tell you what we're not going to do, Tyrlee said softly, continuing to pretend they were just having a pleasant conversation. Panic. There's plenty of moves left, and if I'm going to lose my territories, it won't be just some point stabbing me in the back. I believe I still owe you a favor from earlier. Carrot Top turned to her and thought back, quickly realizing what she meant. This time her smile was more genuine. Lyra sat at the table, waiting for the others' little meeting to come to an end. They're talking about me. Of course they're talking about me, even when the other two are talking about me. Do they really think I can't see the glances they keep shooting my way? If they're all talking about me, there can only be one possible thing they're talking about. The 3 ponies she had on her eye nodded together at one final point, gathered out their various maps and other papers, and split off into 3 different directions. As if on cue, Cheerily and Carrot Top both hooves and separated as well. Lyra took a deep breath and mentally prepared herself. Showtime. Trixie nodded in Cheerily's direction. Raindrops and Lyra locked eyes for a moment. It was the musician who looked away first. Ditsy went over to the popcorn bowl to see if there was anything left in it. Cheerily tapped the side of her head as if realizing something and turned back to the table, where she had left her notebook. Carrot Top hooked an arm around Twilight's shoulder and whispered into her ear. Ditsy, Trixie, and Raindrops all noticed, but only one of them was close enough to overhear Twilight's quiet reply. Cheerily bent down to recover her notebook and flipped a folded piece of paper into the waiting hoof of the pony standing next to her with the same motion. Despite taking pains to keep the note passing secret, they were seen. Ditsy tipped a wink in the direction of the 2 unicorns playing the game. One of them understood the message, while the other thought the wink was for her and got the wrong message. One of the earth ponies opened her notebook at the wrong moment, and Raindrops managed to read the first thing there. Trixie walked over to the now empty popcorn bowl and levitated into the kitchen area to be cleaned in the sink. As he did, she slipped a piece of paper had been hidden under the bowl up to her eyes, read it quickly, crumpled it into a ball, and tossed it into the trash. She didn't notice when one of the others finished the paper ball out of the trash, but Carrot Top did. In as little as 30 seconds, every pony had settled down with another partner, and were talking and plotting again. Only 30 seconds, but more was accomplished in those seconds than the entire round so far.
It was a good match, but I think I've gotten the upper hoof on you,
Trixie said, grinning from ear to ear. Perhaps it was unsportsmanlike to gloat, but it felt so good to finally be on the verge of victory. Carrot Top nodded and offered up a hoof.
Indeed, can't say though, I lasted longer than I thought I was going to.
Trixie firmly shook the extended hoof, still being.
Even though I gained Hubstadt back, the war is far from over. You can always move your navy into the Griffin Sea after I leave it. I'll have a devil of a time getting you out of there.
The farmer frowned and tilted her head to the side.
What do you mean? Old Navy can't move this time.
The smile froze on Trixie's face, but she pressed on bravely.
And yes, it can. It's going to attack Hubstadt with the support of Canis and Sedai. That's 3 against 2.
But Carrot Top was already shaking her head.
That's not how Twilight explained it to me. Since the piece attacking Hubstadt is a navy, the only territories that can support it are along the coast. Canis and the Griffin Sea can't support each other because they're too far away, and neither piece is an air force. Your attack can still work if your navy attacks my navy, instead of supporting. But that means your army has to be the one that takes Hubstadt. Trixie blinked. Her eyes flickered down to her map, back to Carrot Top's, then back to her map again. She frowned, blinked a couple more times, finished processing what she heard, then hair like a ton of bricks. Oh no! Oh no! Murder!
Fortunately, she managed to keep her inner panic off her face.
If you'll excuse me, I just remembered something I forgot to tell Ditsy.
Carrot Top nodded her understanding, but Trixie had already turned away and was rushing to the Grey Pegasus. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw there was about 5 minutes or so left in the timer.
Should be enough time for this. How could I overlook something like this? How could she keep seeing these tiny details before I can?
At the moment, Ditsy was in deep conversation with Cheerily. Trixie overheard something about Lyra moving an army into Pete before tugging the Pegasus to the side with her magic.
Excuse us, I only need her for a moment!
Cheerily arched an eyebrow, looked at Ditsy, was struck before allowing herself to be pulled away into a private corner. As soon as they were gone, the schoolteacher looked at her notebook and bit her lip. She had the look of a pony who was running out of options, but neither Ditsy or Trixie saw.
What's this about?
Ditsy started, but Trixie cut in before she could finish.
I need an army to attack Hubstadt!
Ditsy frowned for a few seconds, but didn't seem to understand what she was talking about all at once.
You want Canis? But doesn't that mean... Yes!
Trixie sighed, pulling out her map again and studying intently.
Carrot's Air Force is going to escape!
The elk unit in question sat in Konja, threatening to take it from Trixie. But the other 4 territories surrounding that one, Makovo, Hippega, and Canis, all were about to be occupied. The plan had been to send any one of those armies into contact and crush a unit like Ditsy's navy had been in the Everfree. But if a hole appeared in their net,
"It's going to steep me us after I leave it,"
Trixie said flatly. No matter how she looked at the board, she had to take Hauptstadt this turn or lose the opportunity.
"We can still push your Air Force out to space, so she doesn't get the supplies there,"
Ditsy said consolingly, running her huff over the other 3 spaces.
"This army here needs to take this turn to get to Markovo, but you got a piece in Hippotania. That should be enough with my support."
Trixie was already shaking her head.
"No good. That piece is an Air Force. If she attacks your army and lets go, it will disrupt your support. Even if she doesn't get to move, then it will be her Air Force against mine. And then she will get to move, so she can take control of this space. It needs to be an army that knocks her out, since armies beat Air Forces 1-on-1.
Trixie took a deep breath and let it out.
You're gonna have to take it. "But that means you still lose. How's that any better for you? At least the Elks will have it,"
Trixie snapped, but realized her disappointment before she could say anything else he might regret.
"After all, it's not like it's Ditsy's fault this is happening. Since I'm gaining one this turn, I'll have the same number of territory, so won't lose any armies. For all we know, she might decide to get rid of that piece anyway, when she loses Hauptstadt. Besides, I know I can trust you with content for me. You get to let me take it back afterwards, and everything will be as soon as it's been by the winter next turn." "Sounds like that's the best we can do right now,"
Ditsy agreed. The two of them pulled out their notebooks and fixed their orders. Silly Caritas' fate would decide a map for the rest of the game. "So, you're still going to try, even though we both know I outnumber you?" Lyra tried. "On paper you might, but there's no guarantee that your paces are going this turn. So, you could be lying." Raindrops saw her such a look that Lyra barked a short laugh and started over. "Alright. You probably aren't lying about going for kill or anything, but you never know. No offense, but I think I'll bank on the off chance you make a mistake. It's not like you got much better to do with those right now." "Don't count on it," Raindrops replied tearfully, but his sister was already walking off with a wave for her hoof. Raindrops clicked her tongue against her cheek and thoughtfully glazed over the timer. 1 minute or 2 left. Just enough time to write my orders. She pulled out a notebook and placed a pencil between her teeth. First couple of moves were easy, with her talk with Lyra fresh in her mind. Navy and Astro Reese's moves to Tequila. Air Force Ayana supports Navy's move to Tequila. Air Force Sarkago C supports the Navy's move to Tequila. She paused and double-checked her map to make sure she got this one right next, and turned back to her book. Army of South Dune Sea attacks Fensilla. There, Dell's instructor attack. Jeez, though. It takes a while to write these out when you've got so many units. Now, which one's next? Ah, right. Still not sure why she moved that one, but I'm not going to turn down a free prize like that. She wrote in Navy and Zabrigan Sea moves into Zabriga with her book, and paused again to check her map once more. Readjusting her grip on the pencil, she turned back and wrote Navy. "Hey, quick question," Charlie said, slipping down in a chair next to Raindrops, tapping her on the shoulder to get her attention. Raindrops mumbled around the pencil. "A little busy right now, get this late?" "Not really." Charlie's eyes flashed towards the open book for just a moment. "I thought you'd like to know that Trixie and Ditsy weren't being on the level with you." Raindrops, grunting and telling me something I didn't know went back over her paper. "Navy and... I seen Ditsy meeting with Lyra when they thought no pony was paying attention." Charlie cut in, leaning forward a bit for an emphasis. "Have you wondered how she keeps getting the better of you?" The weather pony sat up a little straighter and arched an eyebrow for her to continue. So you had full attention. "You're being played. I heard the whole thing over the earrings. Just say where you are and don't attack back for several turns. That's what you've been doing all game. You should ask yourself why they don't want you to take all those pieces you've got and use them." "I'm more interested in why you're telling me this," Raindrops mumbled. "Aren't you on our side in this?" Charlie shook her head with a small smile. Earrings remembered. "When they agreed to let Ditsy take me apart, all bets are off. Just don't feel like watching you go down like I did." "I'll keep that in mind," Raindrops said, returning to her notes again. "Navy and Alcapaca..." "That's not all," Charlie said in a sing-on tone. Raindrops spit out the pencil and irritation around her. "Come on, I'm trying to write. Can we talk about this later?" Thought you want to know somebody else is trying to sabotage you as well.
Oh yeah? Raindrops challenged. Who?
Time's up for this round, Twilight called out.
Raindrops' mouth dropped like a lead weight. She looked over at Twilight, down to her paper, and back up to her friend's face with a look of stunned disbelief.
Pencils down and paste your peppers forward,
Cheerily shrugged apologetically.
Several minutes later, they were all gathered around the table once more. I'll make this quick, Twilight said, trying for a light tone and quickly noticing how the place it was such a serious table. Trixie is following one by Kapstadt, sending her army from Kaunas to take it. Her other army enters Markovo, and her air force supports Ditsie's army in an attack on Kanta. Surprisingly, Kiritas' piece has tried to attack the army, but is forced out only to open spot instead, Kaunas. But that was the only time players supported each other this turn. On the other side of the map, Ditsie tried to hold Phaedric with the support of her piece of Tringham, but it didn't work. But with Cheerlead's units supported Kiritas' army when it attacked, and the Elks take surprise there.
That means Kiritas gained a territory to replace the ones he lost,
Tracy thought with disbelief.
She doesn't lose any pieces, even without Habitat. How? How could she possibly find a way to survive that trap?
Ditsie, there's a lot of places for the army to displace. Where do you want to go? Twilight asked. Ditsie thought about it for a few moments, then pushed up into Brightest, deep in the Elklands. The others all sucked in a breath at the aggressive move, returning back to the librarian expectantly. Twilight shuffled out another pace and continued. Lyra attacked Killa again with her 3 pieces, but the Tapir army in the South Dune Sea attacked and disrupted her support. This allowed Raindrops' navy to move here with the air pieces to help. Let's see. Cheerlead's last army moves to the West Dune Sea unopposed. Raindrops started to write in for an order of plan, but since he didn't finish it, it doesn't move anywhere. There was a dry, brittle crack, and Twilight was jolted out of her groove. Uttering a surprised cry, Raindrops had her hoof pressed so hard on supplies, she snapped her pencil clear in two. Pegasus' eyes never ceased glaring at Cheerly, who was studiously ignoring her. Realizing she wasn't the only one who reacted to that, Twilight swallowed her nerves and decided to press on. Well, there's not a whole lot else. The TPR's last navy makes landfall in Sabrika. Lyra's Air Force slips around it and takes it to Briken Sea. Lyra's army in Nakas stays in place. The one in Hekatan rushes to defend Pete, even though Cheerly went less. She tried to hold Sentimental, but Dissy pushed her out with her last 2 units. And finally, Lyra's other army marched right up to Rakatant. That's it. Lyra, you have to... But the Mint Unicorn was already pushing a displaced unit to Canadia. She also plucked one of her pieces off the board at the same time Ditsy planted a 2-1. The Air Force already paired up and left the table. The 2 of them started talking right there at the table. Twilight was left completely alone, still holding the last round's paper and magic. She looked around, but now she covered all their moves. No pony was paying attention to her anymore. They were all completely focused on the game. Alright then. Go, she said, flipping over a timer, but she might as well have been silent. No pony was listening.